Newsfirst Newsline with Faraz Shaukat Ali.
And a very good evening to you and a warm welcome to Newsline Live. My guest this evening is a member of the Central Committee of the Sri Lanka Freedom Party and a former parliamentarian. He is none other than Mr. Kesaralal Gunasekara. Very good evening to you, Mr. Gunasekara, and welcome.
Good evening, Faraz.
Nice seeing you after a while, isn't it?
Same here, same here. I missed you a couple of occasions.
Indeed. Unfortunately, I was down with COVID and that sort of thing. Now then, the leader of your party, SLFP, has recently said something about on the lines that the government of the day may be doing something to sort of amend the constitution and extend or prolong the life of the parliament. I was about to say prolong the agony of the people, but that's that's subjective. What does President Sirisena mean by that then?
I don't know. I mean, I have not spoken to him on this matter. He is supposed to.
But is it with the blessings of the Central Committee?
No. The last committee that we had, that's about 3 weeks back, this was not taken up. Maybe next committee, which is due.
It is a bit back to front, like most things in Sri Lanka.
Pardon?
It's a bit back to front, because normally you'd have if it's a democratic process, you'd have a consultative process and a meeting with this is not his party. I mean, after all, we're not talking about the SLPP, which technically belongs to one family.
Correct.
So, Mr. Sirisena, this is definitely by no stretch of anyone's imagination is it his party. So why this? Is it a spur of the moment thing that it just came to his head and he said, oh well, this government will do that?
I don't know as to whether he had reasons. Maybe he had discussions with the Politburo. We don't know. We are not aware of that. So it's something.
So what is the role of the Central Committee then?
Well, the Central Committee will broadly look into affairs, but then still for all, it is the Politburo that decides the destinies of the party.
Right. So what do you think? What, if you were to analyze the statement, and that old business about no smoke without fire, that sort of thing.
Correct.
And then you read and you have information filtering through. What is your own personal analysis?
No, this could be sequel to a statement made in Parliament by a lady member of Parliament, saying that the extension, the life period or lifespan of Parliament needs to be extended. I do not know what is it.
Who was this lady member? Are you able to say?
There was a lady member who mentioned that. I don't think it's correct for me to mention names, etc.
Really? Was it published?
It was published, of course.
Oh, you can then say it.
Yeah, it was published. It was. It went on all media's news stories as well.
All right. Anyway, so you feel that they may have that there may be a move to prolong.
I don't know. But it's a lengthy process. It's not going to be that easy because it has to go through 2/3 in Parliament. It has to go through maybe if the Supreme Court decides that it has to go before a referendum. All those issues come into play.
Is it fair to extend the life of Parliament?
Unless with valid reasons.
COVID-19 may be a valid reason.
Then in that case, that should apply to all parliaments in this world.
But we are in Sri Lanka. It's our parliament. We're not really. This government, especially,
but everybody
doesn't really care tuppence about
everybody
the rest.
should be thinking on those lines if that is the case. I don't think that there is a case of that nature.
All right. So now then, but there's another matter. This government as well have postponed elections. Local government.
Local government elections was the lifespan was extended by 1 year.
Yeah, but why? Why do you think?
Well, I do not know exactly what the reasons are. Maybe there is this ongoing discussion with regard to the quantum that has to be reduced as far as local authorities are concerned, which I feel is correct.
Because the quantum in the sense of number
of members.
Number of members.
Which I feel is too much for the country.
What about the minimum makeup of female representation?
That is something that was introduced in good faith. and I don't think that should be tampered with.
So that's a good thing.
That's a good thing.
Okay.
Because
But you know, the thing is this.
Yeah.
Everyone sells us a story, and us, meaning the general public, we choose to believe one or have a bit more faith in one and not so much in the other, so the vote goes there. Right? So when they do come into power, they play pandu. That's the problem. You know, I remember in the Prime-Minister's government, Faisal Mustafa, as the Minister of Provincial Councils at the time, must have been having a torrid time. He was on our program several times on Newsline, telling us that this is being done, that is being done. But the bottom line was that those elections were not being held. They kept being postponed time and time after again. And once, famously, he's told me on the program that there were so many spelling mistakes, and that sounded like a lousy excuse to me.
In the bill?
In the draft.
In the draft bill.
Yeah. And you know, I asked him whether he was unaware of the F7 button on the computer. Generally, if you open a Word document, you press F7, it gives you the spell check.
Yeah, spell checker.
And you can have it the American way or the British way, or whichever way.
Either way.
You know, so what I'm saying is these were lousy excuses at a time when the government of the day were having a torrid time. So is that the same thing, do you think, that's happening now?
No.
These may be having a torrid day.
No, the question is this. I feel the changes that were that the local authorities went through, as far as elections are concerned, elections, local authorities, I think that was a rushed program, and as a result there were mistakes that were made. That is why I say the quantum is too much. The quantum has to be reduced, because I don't think that a country like Sri Lanka can afford to have so many members of local authorities.
Isn't the fundamental problem that much of governance, when you look at the nitty-gritty of that,
governance,
is that some decisions are left, is only placed in the hands of one person?
Even as far as local authorities concerned?
No, like anything, most things,
yeah.
Ultimately, the president of the country has so much of power, untrammeled power, and now with the 20th Amendment, it's back the same.
Correct.
Right? Isn't it better if we had basics, like the holding of all these elections? Whether we agree or not, there is provincial councils, local authorities, there's so many political things there, parliamentary elections and then the presidential elections. You know, Mr. Gunasekara, in the United States, as you're familiar, no matter what, it is fixed. It's in the Constitution and it will be on that date.
Correct.
Right? And so everyone, long before they even think of becoming the president,
they know when
it's going to start, when it's going to end. And what's more, the American president, when it comes to an end, let's say 2 terms, he knows jolly well it was only 2 terms. He can't go beyond. And as President Barack Obama said to the OAU when he addressed the OAU, he said, look, I'm young.
I'm young.
I'm young.
I'm still young. I can campaign.
I can campaign.
For the third.
But the law is the law is the law. And therefore I can't. Over here, if you remember, your one-time leader of your party, the SLFP, President Chandrika Kumaratunga, you know, she was the president. And she doesn't really have to go with a begging bowl or the negotiating team to ensure that she gets her after retirement as the president perks. If she's due a house, it should be given. If she's due a pension, it should be given. A vehicle, security, whatever.
Everything.
She doesn't have to go and be subject to the whims and the vagaries and the fancies and the political connotations of the new president, which is what happened to her.
It did happen to her. It was very unfortunate.
And she went to, they had to go to court. And you know, they had a court order and all that sort of thing because they wanted her to get out of that house at Independence Avenue. So don't you think it's a better thing to have all these things
Everything.
mandated in the constitution and say this is what's going to happen?
Correct. Mandated in the act pertaining to the presidency, which is correct, which I feel is right.
I think it should be in the constitution, because then if you want to change it, subject to the change being proposed, you'll have to have a 2/3 majority. It makes it very difficult.
I know. Those are things that needs to come into the picture as time progresses, I feel.
Now then, thank you for sending your messages. You can do that on 0772 300 305. I'm sure regular viewers are familiar with the number. Again, 0772 300 305 for your questions. Thank you very much. Now then, how do we change this? How do we change this whole system, this culture of your lackeys getting jobs? Some of the lackeys even end up as members of parliament. Yeah, some lackeys have ended up as ministers, state ministers. How on earth do you change this blessed system?
It is not an easy exercise for us. My first response is that it's not an easy exercise.
But we must. Is there the commitment to go on?
No. The question is this. It's very simple. This is something that I have observed. If you take the 60s, 50s, etc.,
yeah,
we had quality members of parliament, we had quality local authority members, etc. But as time progressed, the rotters got into the picture or got into the system, and now it is continuing. So what the parliament that we had in the 50s was not prevalent when it came to the 70s. The parliament that we had in the 70s was not prevalent when it came to the 90s. The parliament in the 90s is not prevalent in 2010-15. Where do we go? We are going down to the drain, and that is happening. That is continuing to happen. It's very simple, because you don't rake in the quality people into the system. If you don't rake in the quality people into the system, the country suffers.
This is such an interesting message that I think I will read it out in full. Thank you for your messages, by the way. 0772 300 305. And if you want, if you have a suggestion as whom Newsline should have on their program, please send us a message and we will look into it and give it our fullest consideration. Hi Faraz, this president or his president is someone who denied knowing anything about the Easter bombing and denied being briefed by his intelligence. Don't they all come to power to stay as long as possible and make hay while the sun shines? And in Sri Lanka, the sun shines a lot. That was my bit. And if you have a majority in parliament, try and extend their term. Isn't this what they all do? Every one of them. You don't necessarily have to comment about President Sirisena, is your party leader, but what about everybody else?
The question is,
the gist of
this
what
is something which I have observed over the years for us. The commitment of people who come into positions is dropping in a big way. That I can see very, very clearly. So once that commitment drops, then you'll be making mistakes, and you will always want to retain power. Your whole exercise is how do we stay in power. That's all. Not to serve your term and go out. That's very simple.
But on the contrary, it is not to serve your term and then go, but how to keep prolonging your term and staying in power forever. We had a famous person who's still in parliament, even though he lost and just the quirk of the system. Ranil Wickremesinghe. You know. So how do we get the quality? How do we get the quality?
It's a process. It is not an easy exercise. How did I come into the political structure? We started with the branch organizations of a political party.
May I interrupt you there for a moment, because it's time to go for a break, and I forgot about that. Right, it's now time for a break, and after we look at the headlines for this evening's news, we'll be back. See you on the other side.
Newsfirst Newsline with Faraz Shaukat Ali.
And welcome back to Newsline Live. I'm in conversation with the former parliamentarian Kesaralal Gunasekara, who is also a member of the Central Committee of the Sri Lanka Freedom Party. Yes, that party, SLFP. Thank you for your questions and your statements. I love this one. Well, it's just gone off. But I put it to you that the present so-called collection of politicians and the political system is nothing more than a combination of hell.
Combination of?
Hell.
In the sense?
It's a hell. It's complete hell.
It's absolute hell, you say.
Because of these politicians, the political system, today the common man is suffering much, much more than the few who have the funds to do whatever it is they want. The common man is terribly affected. Have you been to buy your vegetables?
No, I agree totally.
Right.
In fact, I have said this on many a program, even on other programs of this channel. I have said, look here, the government has not been looking into the affairs of the poor sector of this country.
They can't be the people's government, for heaven's sake, if they don't have an understanding of what's going on.
There is a serious problem. And some of these people cannot even buy their bare necessities because the prices are so high. So high. I don't know whether anybody is looking into these affairs. This is very important.
Aren't the voters to blame? Because countries like Sri Lanka simply do not deserve democracy as yet. I put it to you that present system of the people just giving the votes away and then having all these hellish leaders in our country to govern us is come about because successive governments have failed to invest in education. Take this statistic: 350,000 students on average enter the education system each year. By the time it comes to going to university, they've got 35,000 state places. It might be 40,000.
Yeah, about 40.
All right, 40,000. Well, let's be generous and say 45,000. 15,000 private. That's 50 to 60,000. 115,000 vocational training places. The rest? What do we do with the rest? Do we want them all to stand in the corners in each junction and run three-wheelers?
Yes, correct. That is exactly true.
And if we had an educated population, they would see through these lies and false promises and under-delivery and in most cases non-delivery of the people's needs, and therefore they would see through it and change the system.
Correct.
We don't need laws to change the system.
For us, your point is well taken, but there is another aspect to this, I feel. If you take our country, the majority of the people belong to the lower class and the lower middle class, lower class of this country. That consists of roughly about 70 to 80% of the masses of this country. Most of them elect people to get things done for themselves, not for the country. Not for the country, it's for themselves. If you ask anybody, should you choose this person? Do you think by choosing him he'll do something for me? If so, I will vote for him. It's not what he can do for the country, what he can do for the individual. It is on that basis why many people get elected. It's on that basis. That's why these people, wrong people, get elected to parliament. Where are the quality people? They are all forgotten. Knowledgeable people are forgotten.
I don't know.
Serious trouble.
Well, our present president had professionals, Viatmaga. They're all professionals. Look at what they've done. Where is their input? Who advised the president to do this blessed organic nonsense? It is nonsense, in my opinion.
Somebody has advised the president on that, yeah, definitely, and they made a big mistake.
He's been under-advised terribly.
Ill-advised, I would say.
Well, and ill-advised, you know. How on earth, the entire world organic output is less than 2%, and tiny Sri Lanka, you know, we import just about everything, right? We are going to do it, you know, we are going for 100% in 2 seasons. It's crazy.
Absolutely crazy. So the question is this, you know, we need to have quality people, and there is another aspect for us. Governance is a very complicated subject. Yeah, it's so
more complicated when you're a bit of a Dumbo.
It's very complicated, and everybody should not think that, look here, governance is a very easy thing. No, it's not. It's very complicated. That is why so many people, even people who are educated, when they get into the system, they fail. Why? Because they have no experience. Governance is a strategy completely which is alien to you if you come new. But if you've gone through the mill, you've gone through the local authorities, you've gone through provincial councils, etc., then you have learned systems. You have learned so much when you come to Parliament. Those days, that is how we built parliamentarians. Most of the parliamentarians were Pradeshya Sabha or village council presidents for a long period, 10-15 years, and then only they come to Parliament finally. Once they come, they are capable of dealing with problems. They are knowledgeable with the problems of the country. But we don't have that today. Today, most of the parliamentarians who come into the system, sometimes none of them have gone through the local authorities, no experience in politics. That is very serious. When I started a branch organization of the political party. That's how I rose up. I didn't just become a MP. What rubbish. We worked for years and years. Discussions, meetings, so much experience. And we worked in several institutions, etc. That is how we rose up. That's how we gain experience.
Thank you very much once again for the several messages, and I'd like to thank also our viewers who watch and follow Newsline either through Facebook or on YouTube. If you're looking at it on YouTube, just type in Newsline, one word, TV1, and you'll get all the things there. And especially, I want to thank everybody, and it is amazing, Kesaralal Gunasekara, the number of people who watch this thing, this program.
It's very popular.
From Texas. I spoke to somebody who lives in Sussex, in the United Kingdom, in Crawley, who watches this program, follows the program. So I'd like to thank you all for your interest, and which goes to show that even if you live abroad and you've left your motherland, the land of your birth, you are still interested in Sri Lanka. Of course,
there are so many.
And Sri Lanka, as a country, as a people, we fare pretty high up on the giving index.
Correct.
You know, you look after your mom. You do. Your mom is looked after by you, and you know, take good care of her. And there
everybody, my brother, sister, everybody.
Yes. So, you know, Sri Lanka has this culture of giving.
Yeah.
Even if you don't have, whatever you have, you share.
Correct, correct.
And so it's absolutely it's absolutely amazing, and it's a pity that this government or any government haven't looked at extending the franchise to Sri Lankans who are working abroad, who retain their citizenship.
Yeah.
Who send back money to this country.
Money back to the country.
Okay, it's come down now, mostly probably because over 200,000 people have come back. Yeah. But, you know, they send money here. But, you know, when it comes to exercising their franchise, they're going to have to travel back here and then do it.
Yeah.
How much easier would it be if they can pop into the embassy
and
cast their
franchise
vote there,
yeah,
and exercise their franchise?
That is wonderful, I feel.
You know, but
these are things that have to come into the picture.
Well, perhaps the government of the day, not only this government, the Yapalanistas, UNP before, and whatever, including your party, but add that in. You know, they've not. Maybe they're scared because the people abroad are open to. They've opened their eyes. And they can see.
They're open to the world.
They're open to the world. And then these little lies these fellows tell here during the campaign trail, and the quarter bottle of arak, the butt packet, the T-shirt, perhaps the peak cap, gives you the vote.
Correct.
Perhaps
exactly
they may see through all that.
Yeah, of course they see through. I still feel that they must be given the right to vote, exercise their franchise, which is a must.
Do you think it'll ever happen?
I don't know, but in time to come, yes, those changes.
Do you
will
think
have to
it'll
come.
be a
Reforms
sure
will have to
vote
come.
catcher?
Pardon?
Do you think it'll be a sure vote catcher?
No, the question is,
If you're president of your party,
Yeah.
President Sirisena, once a president, always a president, you know, do you think you can talk to him?
of course you can talk to him.
Well, you talk to him because you're a member of the consultative, the Central Committee.
No, you can speak to him.
Yes, but you can talk to him and you can tell him to do this.
Yes, I will take it up. I will certainly take. Of course, this is something that would have been must
There's
be on the
over
cards.
pardon?
This must be on the cards, definitely.
Well,
that
no
piece of-
one's done jack about it. I know somebody out there. I must admit that this suggestion came to me from a viewer out there.
They must be.
Who I met in one of the national parks, actually. He told me about this.
There are so many things.
Do you know that in the Philippines, expatriate workers, Filipinos who go abroad, they have a special status in the Philippines. Starting with the airport, they have special lines for returning expatriate workers and so on. You know, over here, we are happily grabbing everything from them, their dollars,
Yeah.
and what do they get? Do they get a concessionary loan for a house? Do they get concessionary or fast-track customs clearance? Nothing. Only now Mr. Cabral is giving them 10 rupees more if you send it. Whereas I don't know how well it's going to work, Mr. Cabral, because the money changers are giving about 30 rupees more.
35 rupees more.
Yeah.
That is because there is this official rate and unofficial rate which has been created, which we need to understand. There is nobody who's going to send money through the normal channels. We'll have a serious problem. No sooner you get into a situation where you have an official rate and unofficial rate and the gap is about 30 to 40 rupees, who the hell is going to send money through the normal official channels? You can try everything possible under the sun. You can bring all the laws under the sun, but still you'll fail. I'm telling everybody in the central bank, you'll fail.
Kesaralal Gunasekara, thank you very much for your time with us on Newsline Live, and thank you. And it's now time for the Primetime News, produced by that wonderful team who does the Primetime News, which follows this program. Thank you, take care, have a great evening ahead of you. Don't worry, Sri Lanka is resilient, aren't we? God bless you all.